Welcome back, everyone. It's Richie from the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast. Wanted to speak on the New York Yankees and why they are currently the best team in baseball, and in a lot of people's estimation, are overachieving going into the season. Some people had them finishing third, possibly even fourth. And amongst a lot of the Yankee fan base, they were very disappointed that the Yankees did not go after certain players. They were upset that the Aaron Judge deal was not solidified. But I am going to go over some reasons in the early going through 30 games as to why the New York Yankees are winning and why it looks like it could be a special year. First and foremost, I want to start with how Anthony Rizzo stacks up to two elite free agents that the Yankees ultimately passed on. I'm talking about Freddie Freeman and Matt Olson. Going into the year, once again, a lot of people were disappointed because they viewed Anthony Rizzo kind of like a consolation prize, whereas Freeman ultimately, coming off a World Series victory and previously the face of the Atlanta Braves, went to the Los Angeles Dodgers, whereas Matt Olson replaced Freeman in Atlanta. I'm going to share some of the stats with you. Matt Olson currently hitting .269, 3 homers, 14 ribbies. Not a bad stat line. Freeman a little more impressive. .313, 3 home runs, 13 ribbies, playing for a stacked Los Angeles Dodger team. And not that he necessarily needs it, but plenty of protection in that lineup. But I think this is a pretty staggering stat here. While the batting average might not be excellent, Anthony Rizzo brings an excellent glove. 9 home runs, 25 RBIs. The 9 home runs is really staggering, like I said. These are 8-year deal guys that are in the peak of their careers. And when you look at Rizzo, he briefly led MLB in home runs. Recently, Aaron Judge jumped him in overall home runs. But when you're getting that kind of production from a guy that's on a short-term deal that you picked up as a rental last year that is older, I got to say that you're getting the bang for your buck. Whereas, Freeman, these are great numbers. 3 home runs, power numbers. I would imagine the home runs are going to show, but Matt Olson, a lot of money. 8-year commitment from the Braves, roughly 270, 3 homers. The RBIs here. Rizzo with 25. Rizzo is outplaying, I guess you can say, the contract compared to the other two. And as I'm on the topic of free agents, the Yankees passed on quite a few. One of the bigger ones was Trevor Story, who ultimately signed with the Boston Red Sox. Story's having a very rough year. And the Red Sox are kind of in a weird situation because they already committed to Story, who is playing second base but is a natural shortstop. While as Xander Bogaerts, who's one of the more tenured players with the Red Sox, may be getting traded before the deadline. They were about $100 million apart on that deal. To make things even more validated that the Yankees didn't go after Trevor Story, the Red Sox are currently in last place, whereas the Yankees are in first. I do believe that kind of sticking with guys from last year, and the Yankees still have the 3rd highest payroll in baseball. But I think the Yankees didn't panic and didn't blow up the checkbook. And thus far, they have an excellent chemistry. This here is another key point as to why the Yankees are doing so well. Just before the end of spring training, they traded their longtime catcher, Gary Sanchez, as well as Gio Urshela. For young catcher Ben Rortvedt, Their current starting shortstop, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, and Josh Donaldson, who's a former league MVP, but in many people's estimations has seen better days. This is a telltale stat as to why the Yankees are doing so well. .992 on the fielding percentage. The entire side, third shortstop, that entire side of the infield has improved immensely. And while Donaldson hasn't really hit his stride offensively yet, he's been a great upgrade at third. Kiner-Falefa replaced Gleyber Torres. Gleyber has become kind of like a part-time second baseman, sharing that role with DJ LeMahieu, sometimes DHing. Good problem to have. Gleyber's in the early going has come up very big for the Yankees in key spots, while the numbers might not be there. And LeMahieu is looking like every bit of the player who has won 2 batting titles, one in each league, the AL and NL. Previously a member of the Rockies, he did that over there. But this was a trade that originally was scoffed at by a lot of fans and the media alike. And what's interesting about this trade is that catcher Ben Rortvedt has actually not played a game yet. He was injured before the start of the season. The Yankees, who were thin at catcher, decided to make a deal for Trevino, formerly of the Rangers. And it has worked out very well. Rortvedt is a lefty. And when I say worked out very well, I'm talking more so about the way they are calling the games. Gary Sanchez, for the last few years, was a huge liability, as well as just hitting into way too many double plays. Interestingly enough, the trade seems to have worked out for both teams because both teams are currently in first. Not many, if any, had the Minnesota Twins at first, but they're doing well. And the Yankees currently sport the best record in Major League Baseball. This, to me, is the biggest one. They are plus 52 in runs scored this year. Last year, this team struggled with scoring runs. And when you couple that with how good the overall pitching has been, this is a remarkable stat here. 2.38 team ERA. The pitching has been phenomenal. They, from top to bottom, thus far, have the best team ERA in all of baseball. And when you couple that with this stat, as I already alluded to, plus 52, only second to the Dodgers, it's early. The Yankees are looking like every bit of a legitimate World Series contender thus far. Of course, health is so vital, and there's so much baseball left to be played. 130 games to be exact left for the Yankees. 132 games left for the Yankees. Tonight they start 8-game road trip, 4 in Chicago, playing against an underachieving White Sox team. Luis Gil's getting the ball tonight should be interesting. He struggled in AAA, but because of very few off days, they need to space out the starters. And speaking of the starters, they have not made any splashy moves. They reinvested in guys who contributed last year. A guy like Nestor Cortez got an opportunity because Corey Kluber was shut down for the majority of the season following his no-hitter against the Texas Rangers. Cortez flirted with a no-hitter in his last start and has really been a godsend. And when you look at the mammoth contract of Garrett Cole, who probably will be in the Cy Young running, the rest of the staff has really stepped up. Jameson Taillon, another economical deal, looks healthy. Jordan Montgomery, pitching very well. Unfortunately for him, has not gotten a lot of run support. And then in the pen, Clay Holmes, 4 wins out of the bullpen this year. That is tied for the Major League lead in wins. And Aroldis Chapman has converted every save thus far. The bullpen has essentially been able to hold down most leads. And going into the year, Aaron Judge and the Yankees did not come to an agreement on a long-term deal. That is obviously a concern to many Yankee fans moving forward. But one thing that I enjoy about what's happening right now is that Judge is truly taking on the reins and just coming up in so many clutch situations in the early going with 2 strikes, 2 outs the other night. Hit his first career walk-off home run against the rival Blue Jays, distancing the Yankees from the Blue Jays and Rays in the early going. And he is not only playing like a person who's possessed and wants that big-time contract and commitment from the Yankees, he is also looking like someone who ultimately wants to be considered to be worthy of being the next captain. The Yankees have not had a captain since Derek Jeter. I'm going to go watch the game in a little while. And I will actually be back later with my buddy Zach, possibly Elliot too, as we're going to discuss the pros and cons of the NFL schedules that our teams have. The actual official release is coming up in a little bit, but I've already been able to see the entirety of my New York Giants schedule with a lot of the leagues. We're going to be back with that a little bit later. And until then, thanks for watching. Have a great one.